Hi guys, it's Rachel. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to create a moonlit ocean scene using the Color Therapy app. If you want to follow along, just type in castle in the search box. A moonlit ocean scene can be peaceful, magical, or spooky. It just depends on what other objects you add to it. Let's go over to the space palette. I'm going to use the fourth color on the second row, and it's gradient, and I'll tap it into the water so that it's lighter on the bottom. Okay, and then now go over to the underwater palette, and I'll choose the third color on the last row and tap in the sky so it's lighter on the bottom. Now, since today I don't want to focus on this maiden and her boat, I'm going to get rid of her just so we can focus on the moonlit sea. I'm going to use the airbrush tool, opacity 100, and you can go pretty big, size 50. I'm just going to sample the colors that are in the ocean and just kind of erase her. Now go back to the space palette gradient and let's use the fourth color from the right on the second row. I'm going to just tap in a few of our clouds. And then back to the underwater palette, I'm using the last color in the top row and just tapping in a couple other clouds. So we have some like purplish blue clouds in the sky, and that's what we're going to be reflecting into the water as well. Now, while you're in the underwater palette, let's scroll to the left to the calm seas palette. Let's set it to solid. And I'm using the second color on the second row. So I'm going to use the airbrush tool, opacity 100 and size 40. And I'm going to draw the moon. So just however big you want, make it solid in the clouds, and then lower the opacity to 35 and size at 80. I'm going to draw an aura around this moon. So you can further develop the clouds and the moon if you want, but this is sort of the color palette we're going to work with to shine down into the water now. So let's focus on the water. Now let's grab basic black and then head back to the airbrush tool. Let's do size 65 and opacity at 35. So I'm going to use coloring inside the lines mode on, and I'm just going to basically outline that horizon and underneath the rocks of where the castle is. And then where your maiden's face is, you can turn coloring inside the lines mode off. You can also clean up those edges too if you need to. So our horizon is really dark because the ocean's getting deeper back there. Now we're going to add in some glimmer to the sea. Let's do airbrush tool size 1, opacity 40, and just go ahead and sample colors from the sea. So I'm going to just draw little lines across the horizon. It's really soft, and I'm using coloring inside the lines mode off. You can sample the darker colors in the sea and bring it into the lighter parts too. Just drawing lines back and forth loosely. And I'm also going to turn my stroke opacity down so we can see a little better. Now go back to the Calm Seas palette, and I just want you to use colors from that palette and just add more lines in softly. And we're going to begin to focus our lighter lines beneath the moon. So using the same moon color, which is the second color on the second row, I'm just going to start to add more lines, focusing right underneath the moon and coming all the way down. And let's just use the smear tool now and just blend it. So I'm doing the size at 30 and intensity 100 and just kind of smearing and blending those lines so they're really soft. Back in the Calm Seas palette, I'm using the fifth color on the second row, and this time I want to raise my airbrush tool to size 80 and opacity at 40. Let's add it to the bottom of the sea down here. So the bottom of the sea is really light, and then just little touches here and there right underneath where the moon is too, just to lighten it up where the moon is. And scroll to the right to find the Dreamy Horizon palette now. And I'm using the sixth color on the second row. It's kind of pinkish. And I want to add it to the sea a little bit as well. Just kind of to the sides. Just a little bit of pink tone. And then we can lower the size all the way down to between 1 and size 7 and add in little lines too, just really gently. And you can also use that lighter blue we had. You can kind of make squiggly lines now too. And you can also use the second color on the very last row of Dreamy Horizon palette. It's kind of a turquoise too. You can add that in so it has a nice look to it. So let's use that moon color. You can either sample it or grab it again from before. Let's do size 1 and opacity at 80. Let's zoom in here. We're going to add more lines right below the moon, and then also add little tiny dots with your finger. So lines, dot, line, dot, line, dot, line, dot, line, dot. And we're just really focusing where the moon is shining down on the sea, because the moonlight's catching on the waves. So as you get closer to where we are, the waves are going to be a little bit bigger and a little bit thicker. So you can kind of overlap some of the lines. Make them a little bit longer when they get closer to you as well. And then lastly, we'll use the pen tool, so the size 1 and opacity at 80, and we'll do the same thing and add an extra detail. So do some more lines and dots, lines and dots, lines and dots. So it's really catching the glimmer of the water, and this is the detail and all the beautiful waves. And that's it. This moonlit ocean scene could be a great background for a pirate ship, resting mermaid, dolphins or whales jumping, or left as is. Thanks for watching our tutorial. You can get the Color Therapy app for free on the App Store.